Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Sunday morning. You know what, I look at the live chat, I see names like Xavi Simons, Gift Orban, Lefay's in there, and I think, you know what, there are so many targets Manchester United could go for this summer, but I think Rasmus Hojlund probably represents Manchester United's summer transfer window more than any other player. News coming in over the weekend from the Times that Erik ten Hag would like to sign 2 strikers this summer, something many of you have been mentioning over the last few months on the channel. Remember, Cavani left, he wasn't replaced. Ronaldo has not been replaced, and Martial probably needs replacing. That's 3 strikers. You know, it's not a nice to have, it's what we used to have. So at the end of the day, I think that buying 2 strikers in the summer is what a Man City would do, it's what a Liverpool would try and do, it's certainly what a Chelsea would do. But Rasmus Hojlund represents Manchester United, really. I think this is the sort of signing we should be making, but we won't make, because we are still going to have a manager and we are still going to have a club supported by fans that is being held back by those in power. I don't actually envisage Sir Jim Radcliffe getting hold of the club and changing the transfer policy, which is why when you look at Man City winning the title last night and you look at the future, Man City have just won 3 titles in a row. Who's stopping them next year? It's not going to be us. Who's stopping them the year after? Not us. Who's stopping them the year after that? Not us. They could win 5 or 6 in a row. They could win the treble and the quadruple next year. What are we doing as a football club to try and stop that from happening? We are sat here in this bloody constant waiting room where there seems to be no destination to the Glazers actually leaving. Like, what really matters is not even on the agenda, because we're just locked into this 6-month terminal boredom with the Glazers deciding whether they want to go or not. I can't believe the power they still have at this football club, that they can sit there toying with the fans while Man City are breaking records going, should we stay, should we go? And I'm like, bloody hell, can we just get this club back where it belongs, at least with a genuine attempt to try and dislodge or compete with this Manchester City side and everybody else that's trying to compete, because we're just bloody miles off. And I think Rasmus Hojlund represents just how far we will be off as a football club, because I do not think we'll get that deal done. If you don't know who Hojlund is, look, he's a Danish striker. He's just turned 20. Very exciting. Some people say he's the next Haaland. I don't really think that, really. He's at Atalanta in Serie A. Yeah, I mean, look, he's a very exciting player. There is interest there from Manchester United. They have scouted him. I think he's a boyhood Man United fan, but everybody is. But obviously we've got the Danish connection with Eriksen. We're Manchester United. I think it's a deal we could do, but I just do not believe for 1 second that we will get this deal done. I think we will buy 1 striker in the summer. It will probably be all summer, you know, basically lubing ourselves up for Spurs to screw us over, and it'll be Harry Kane, and that'll be it. But actually, we do need this sort of player. I think we definitely do. You think United need to be fluid, because if they don't get the right owners in, City could surpass their 13 Premier League titles, as they're only 6 off now, says Nathan Allen. Mate, I think we're miles off. I was thinking about this last night. I mean, in fact, I was doing the Talk Sports show. Man City fans were calling in, and most of them were calling in to slag United off, which I thought was amazing, considering you've just won the title 20 minutes ago. But in effect, I don't see anybody getting anywhere near them. I think the biggest threat to Man City is if Pep decides he's had enough, because no one else is going to get near them. And look, we're not a football club. We're a football club in the eyes of the fans, and we're a football club in the eyes of Ten Hag, but we're not a football club in the sense of the people who own us. The ambition to be the best football team hasn't been at that football club for 18 years. It's not about being the best football team. It's about making the most money. That's the bottom line. And that is why, going into this summer, Manchester United should be going and going, wow, what an amazing first season that is for Ten Hag. Let's go and back him with another 250 million. He'll struggle to get 150 million spending this summer, because we just don't have that budget with the current ownership model and where it's heading at the moment. We've got no prospect of a new owner coming in. And look, Alexis McAllister may well have been a player that Man United could have signed. He's going to go to Liverpool. Declan Rice may well have been a player that Man United might have wanted to sign. He's going to probably go to Arsenal or Man City. There are players starting to sign for other clubs now. Rasmus Hojlund may stay at Atalanta for another year. He may go to another club, but it's highly doubtful Man United will do anything about it. So, I mean, I worry about next season. I worry about next season, because obviously we've just got to get this point against Chelsea or Fulham and we've got Champions League football back again. But how many times have we, as a fan base, seen United qualify for the Champions League and the very next year we're in the Europa League? And I do worry about next season, because to be in the Europa League, you've got to finish, what, 6th? Could that happen next year? Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, Liverpool. Yes, it could. Especially if all those 5 clubs have a better summer than us. I'm worried about our summer. And I'm also worried about the vulnerabilities of this team. We're not unbeatable. We know we're not unbeatable. We know we can be beaten. Even yesterday against Bournemouth, 2 big saves from De Gea. We never looked like scoring. We never looked like scoring, really. The goal was because Casemiro thought, sod this, I'm going to make a run forward. So I do worry about next season. If we can't just tread water. Harry Kane, I saw someone yesterday, Harry Kane wins a Premier League title if he comes to Man United. Really? What have you been watching all year, mate? We win the title with Harry Kane. What team have you been watching this season? Because Harry Kane in a Man United side isn't winning us the title. What a complete and utter load of nonsense. Have you not watched Manchester City? Harry Kane in a Man United shirt doesn't make us win the title. Absolutely not. What happens when Casemiro gets injured or suspended? That midfield's like a donut again. I don't think we're Harry Kane away from winning the title at all. I think Harry Kane would score more goals for United, but I don't think we win the title with Harry Kane. I think we need a lot more than that. Oz says, Mark, rate my ideal transfer window. Kane, Hojlund, Murray. Well, I'm not going to rate it, Oz. I mean, it's got Kim Min-jae and Frimpong. I'm not going to rate it because it's just fancy. I can't. You know what? I know people like to do that, and I respect it, but I'm not in that mood, mate. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here fantasising about transfer windows. We've been fantasising for 18 years. When are we actually going to start delivering? I think it's piss poor, if I can be honest, on this Sunday morning, that we are heading into the end of May. We've got no prospect of knowing who's going to buy us, and I wish somebody could convince me that we're going to have a good transfer window, because I cannot see it. How can we have a good transfer window? Every agent, every journalist that you speak to is saying United are basically on lockdown. They can't speak to anybody because they don't know who's in charge. But Liverpool can, Arsenal can, Man City can, Chelsea can. Everybody can, but Man United can't. You're literally missing out. You know, like it's like when somebody throws a load of money in the air and everyone's trying to catch it, and you go for every bit you go for, someone's already got it. It's really concerning. I think we're going to end up with players that people don't want or can't get. And Harry Kane, Rabiot, and Kim Min-jae are probably the 3 that we can get without having any competition for various reasons. Durag says, I'd kiss Joel on the forehead and Abraham where the sun don't shine to get both Kane and Hojlund. If we could only choose one, I'd take Hojlund any day, says Durag. Well, look, Harry Kane, 28 goals in the Premier League. I don't know how he's managed that in that Spurs side, by the way. He's got to get out, and I think Man United will go for him because they daren't try and compete for Victor Osimhen. So I think he will end up at Manchester United, and I think he will do a good job at Manchester United. I remain the same. I would much rather Osimhen for many reasons, and I can see a situation where Kane's in a United shirt next season and he's scoring goals, but Osimhen's scoring more goals for Chelsea, and therefore it's a better deal. But you know, I can't argue with the fact that Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world. I just think it's the wrong deal for Manchester United, and we might figure that out in a couple of years rather than a couple of months after we bought him. But look, you can't dispute what he's done. It's unbelievable in that Spurs team. But Erik ten Hag said it yesterday. In fact, I'll come on to that in a minute. Spencer says, one thing is for certain, if we get Qatar, is that we won't hear there's no value in the market in January. Exactly. And Harry Kane will win the league for United. That's like saying he will win it for Spurs. He needs a team built around him that was Spurs' problem. And if United don't do that, the same will happen. Exactly, Nathan. You're absolutely spot on. But Erik ten Hag said after the game yesterday that it's the story of the season that, well, to summarise, he said basically it's the story of the season that we don't score enough goals. And he's absolutely right. We all saw the Bournemouth game. We didn't look like scoring. We didn't really have any good chances. And you can blame that on Martial and Weghorst, but I think you've got to blame it more on the creativity. It's just not there from the flanks, and it's not there from the number 10. Bruno had a poor game yesterday. Fullbacks didn't really get forward as much as you'd like. Wingers just not creating anything. It's a flat end to the season, but Ten Hag is right. We are creating very little. I mean, look, again, it was long shot FC. I mean, that has to be coming from the training ground. The amount of shots we take from distance, it has to be. So You stick Harry Kane in that team, you stick Victor Osimhen in that team, you stick Moani in that team. You've still got to solve a big problem of creativity, because we're just not doing that. So, yeah, I think we need 2 strikers. Do I think we'll get 2 strikers? No, I don't. I can't see it. I can't see us getting 2 strikers, and then that opens up the door to what you're going to do with, if you get Harry Kane. What are you going to do about Weghorst? You're going to keep him because you can't get anybody else? I mean, that would be horrible. I like Weghorst, but if we keep him, that's just, we may as well just say we're fighting for 5th. I mean, I don't know what that. I mean, it's like a bloody charity if we keep Weghorst at the club. No other club in the top half of the table would have him on their bench. So if you don't keep Weghorst and you've got Harry Kane, what are you going to do with Martial? We know Martial. We know Martial hates being subbed. We know he hates being on the bench. That's been proven over years. What do you do with Martial? So people say sell him, boot him out. He's on 200 grand a week, and I think he's got a couple of years left on his deal. It's a difficult. It's the Harry Maguire effect. It's the Phil Jones effect. It's a player you probably should move on, but you can't move on because no one will go near him because the reasons you want to sell him: injury prone, doesn't like not being the main man, massive wages. It's just not easy to sell those players because these are the mistakes that Manchester United make. They lock these players in on, we spoke about it the other day, stupid wages. So we do need 2 strikers. I can see a situation where you buy Harry Kane and you keep Weghorst. I mean, it makes me want to throw up, but I can see that because we're not a serious football club. Serious football club, you go, Erik ten Hag, what a great season he's had. He's really shown that if you give him 250 million, he'll make it work. It's a no-brainer to invest in him. I'm going to get you Hojlund and I'm going to get you Kane. I'm going to get you in midfield and I'm going to get you a centre-back and let's go again next season. That's what you do. Slow Sports News says, what annoys me is how United are linked with every player out there until they sign that contract. It's just talk. We need to sell in order to buy, says Slow Sports News. I do think it's a little bit different this year, though. I think you're right. Every other year, United are linked to everybody. But I do think there is a bit of realism in the market this year that United are not in for anybody until they sort out the sale because the Glazers own Man United at the moment. And therefore, you can't actually use United like you normally do because everybody knows Man United haven't got any money, really. Mark, unfortunately, I think Kane is probably as close to winning anything big with Spurs as he would be with United. If the Glazers stay, it's very sad, says Sean from Ireland. Yeah, so look, somebody said, why would you take Rasmus Hojlund? And look, I don't spend all my life watching players like some people do, but I've seen enough of him to know that he has the potential to be an absolute superstar striker. And Manchester United need that sort of excitement in the striking area. If you bring in Harry Kane, he's 30, he's the finished article, he's a Spurs player coming to Manchester United to try and win something. That's what he's coming to do. There is no excitement in the striking area at Manchester United at the moment. We did a few years ago. You had the likes of Rashford, Greenwood coming through. Martial was still young. This is the place where you win the games. Man United's success this season has been built on the goalkeeper, the defence and Casemiro. The amount of times we've won the game by one odd goal is unbelievable when you look across the season. That's great, and it's great to admire the likes of Lindelof and Casemiro and Varane and Martinez and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka and De Gea and Dalot. It's great to do that, but it's not as exciting as admiring your goal scorer, is it? We need something exciting at Manchester United in the striking area, and I think Harry Kane would be exciting, but he'll always be 30 years of age and spent most of his career as a Spurs legend. We are Manchester United. We need to create our own legends and we need to create our own excitement. And I think if you brought somebody in like a Hojlund or a Ferguson from Brighton, that type of a player is what Man United are crying out for at the moment. You know, that young belief for years to come. We do need that. That's the beauty of signing people like Rooney that we did years ago. I think Hojlund is a player that Man United like the look of. I think he's a player that Erik ten Hag really likes the look of. I just do not think United will go and do a deal like that because I think we're hamstrung. I think we're on lockdown. Mark, what's your thoughts on Vlahovic as our future striker? Says Devench. Very difficult deal to do. Don't think Juventus are in a position where they have to sell like people thought they would do. Don't think he's necessarily going to leave anyway. Very expensive. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Andy Weatherall, welcome to the Members Club, and we need 7 players to get rid of the Deadwood, says John. But isn't Hojlund cheaper than Harry Kane, says Regista? Yeah, but I don't think Man United are going to go... I probably should have made that a bit clearer. I don't think Manchester United are looking to sign Hojlund as their striker. I think this is about a second striker. Man United should be buying two strikers this summer. There's no doubt about that. I've heard so many people talk about it over the last few months, and they're absolutely correct. Cavani wasn't replaced. Ronaldo wasn't replaced, and people want Martial to go. There's 3 striking spots there. Solskjaer had 3. He had 3. Ten Hag has lost 2, and 1's basically not been available. So, there is no comparison between Solskjaer and Ten Hag, by the way, anyway. They're completely different. One can coach, one couldn't. But Solskjaer also had 3 strikers. He did. Whether he loaned one to Sevilla or not, he had 3 strikers. Ten Hag this year has basically done it without any of those. So he needs 2 strikers. Goals win games. You can concede 2 goals and win a game 4-2. But what United can't do at the moment is, if we concede 2 goals, we've lost. We can't win if we concede 2 because we can't score enough. You need 2 strikers, because if Harry Kane has a bad day, or Osimhen has a bad day, or they're injured, you can't go back to Weghorst. You've got to... It's like, you can't... What I don't want to happen next season is the Casemiro problem, where Casemiro's brilliant, but when he's suspended, injured, or out of form, the team just falls off a cliff. So imagine if you bought Osimhen or Kane. Oh, they're brilliant. Pull a hamstring, out for 6 weeks. The season falls off a cliff. You can't have that. That's not what happens at Man City. That's not what happens at big clubs. You have a contingency plan. And I think that's why it's incredible what Erik ten Hag's done this season, because there's just not been a contingency plan if Casemiro gets injured. There's definitely not been a contingency plan from Ronaldo leaving. And yet here we are, 1 point away from top 4 in 2 cup finals. It's amazing what he's done. Absolutely amazing. Just moving it along, though, let's just talk about the midfield for a moment. I mentioned McAllister. McAllister to Liverpool is getting very, very close. Manchester United, whether you like it or not, were very appreciative of McAllister and really liked him. The story on McAllister is, and this is, you can take it to the bank because it's true, Manchester United had a lot of interest in Alexis McAllister, and Erik ten Hag really likes him. And the reason he likes him is because he can play a multitude of positions in the midfield. He's Premier League proven, of course. I don't like that word, but what I mean by that is he's shown in the Premier League that he can do it in a team that plays well, like Brighton. So he's shown he can play in a footballing team in this league. Basically, Alexis McAllister has shown that he could play for Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea. He's proven he can do that because he's done it for a team like Brighton, who play good, expansive, energetic football. So Alexis McAllister was definitely a player that Erik ten Hag liked. And again, it's another Argentinian player that, with the Martinez effect, would have been a really good addition to this Man United squad. We mentioned it about Enzo Fernandez. So McAllister is a player that Erik ten Hag recommended and liked and mentioned to Manchester United. And look, that interest went public. But Liverpool have been hungry and gone out and shown that player and his agent their desire to get him and get him in quick. And Liverpool have made a career out of this under Jurgen Klopp. Whatever you say about Liverpool's season, and it's not been great, in the transfer window, they are if they've got the money, they're very efficient. Look at Nunez last year, look at Fabinho a few years ago. They're quick. Gakpo at Christmas. They get it done. They go in and they get it done, and they'll get that deal done for a good price on a good wage as well. So they're better than Manchester United in 3 ways. They get deals done quickly, we don't. They get the transfer fee done at a good price, we don't. And they'll get him on a good wage, which we don't as well. We're slow, we always overpay, and we pay ridiculous wages. So, look, I know some of you don't want Alexis McAllister, but the reality is Ten Hag did like the look of him, wanted United to get involved in that race, and we didn't because we can't, because we don't know who owns the club. Whilst Liverpool just go, yeah, we'll go there, we'll do that. And whatever you think about Alexis McAllister, it's not a good look for United. It's like you're missing out on players because you're not ready to do anything, and other clubs are. Christian Falk mentioned Gravenberch at the weekend, that Man United might look at that. There is now stories circulating that people have reacted to that news and are starting to express an interest in Gravenberch. So you could see Gravenberch going to Arsenal or Villa or Liverpool because Man United are not in a position to do anything about it. And that is a a harsh reality at the moment that there's a lot of quality players out there. There is lots and lots of quality players in lots and lots of positions, but they're starting to get ticked off. They're starting to go. It's like a wedding list where you go, I'm not going to look at it until a couple of weeks before, and then you go, oh, I'll buy them a toaster, or it's gone. You know, they're all getting ticked off gradually, and that is closing down our options. And ultimately, even if you end up in the situation which some of you want, where Qatar owns Manchester United, it'll be a Chelsea thing from last year. By the time the money's there, the list is gone, and you're overpaying for the people that players didn't really want. The US had Johnny Cash, Bob Hope and Stevie Wonder. We have no cash, no hope and no bloody wonder, says Christopher. He's thought that one through. So that's the situation with McAllister. With De Jong, which I think is the number one target. Thanks, Melps. De Jong would be Erik ten Hag's number one target. He's been speaking after Barcelona have won the title. And basically, look, De Jong has done what he's always done. You can like it or not, but it's true. He's basically said that, look, very happy in Barcelona, very happy at the club, very happy with the season. There was a bit of an issue last summer, but, you know, I never held it against the club. And look, effectively, his future's there. So I mean, it's interesting. Blaze Runner says not Frankie de Jong again. Carl Dixon, welcome to Members Club. I don't think it will either. I don't think De Jong will even start up this year as a viable story. If you listen to what he had to say there, and the noises coming out of Barcelona, I think he's had a very good season for them, and I don't think they're in a position where they would be looking to do that. They do need to raise some money, Barcelona. I mean, they want to bring Messi back and they want to do a few other bits, but Frankie de Jong is not going to be the player that Barcelona try to force out to raise money this time. They'll do it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Frankie de Jong. I think they're more looking at other players. Rafinha's been mentioned as well. So, yeah. Do you see Donny as good as gone? I hope not, says the alien. Look, I like Donny van de Beek, and I've always been a big fan of Donny van de Beek, but if he is a player that we are pinning our hopes on, then we may as well just give up on doing anything significant for the next few years. Donny van de Beek is not going to come into that United side and make us relevant. Even before the injury, it wasn't going well. Like, I think I just can't see him turning it around. I think this season was the season to do it. To me, Donny doesn't even look like he's got the mentality to do it at Man United. He looks like he's got a sad face. He looks like he's got a defeated face. So not only are you hoping that he can adapt to the Premier League's 3 years after signing in the Premier League, you've also got to hope that he's going to come back with a personality transplant, because he just looks like he's defeated. He looks sad. He looks like he doesn't believe. And I like the player, but you can't. You take a risk. When it goes wrong, you took a risk. And I think, you know, not buying a midfielder because you think Donny van de Beek's going to turn it around, I don't think so. I mean, when he was at Ajax, he looked like a player that could go and play for Real Madrid. At Manchester United, he looks like a player that could go and play for Southampton. I don't really, at the moment, he doesn't look like he's a top 6 Premier League midfielder. He just doesn't. He looks like he's a player that's going to sit on the bench at Villa. So, no, I wouldn't say I've given up on Donny. I'd love it to work, but I'm not putting any expectation on him being a solution to any problem we've got. You've just got to believe that one and say it's a bonus if it works out. If not, you know, I didn't expect anything now. Ten Hag needs football people above him to help him, plus these greedy owners and clowns they employ need to hate the Glazers, love United. Paul Island, thank you very much for your chat there. It's Ollie's fault. Send Donny to Fulham. Yeah, well, he could do a Pereira, Lawanda. I think you could make a good point there. As a McTominay replacement, says the alien. Look, that midfield needs a lot of work. Only one person to blame for that, and that's Ollie, says Slow Sports News. Look, I don't want to get into that. Solskjaer is, you know, he's a legend of the club as a player. I think he did a lot of damage as a coach. Some people want to revise that damage and pretend that it wasn't, but there's no need to go back and go on about it. We're in a new era now, and the new era will become the old era if we don't build on the success of this first season. I've mentioned it a few weeks ago. There is that vibe of Mourinho's season where he finished second. He needed investment. They didn't invest, and it all went wrong. Look at Ten Hag, 2 cup finals, gets us into top 4. You've got to invest. You've got to invest. If we don't invest, I can see it all going wrong. Why have you got to invest when you've got to 2 cup finals and top 4? Because everyone else who's had a bad season is going to invest. So if you want to stay where you are, you've got to invest. But if you don't, the teams behind you end up catching you up. You move further away from those teams in front. I do worry about next season. I think we're going to have to look. I think this summer will go like that. Even though there's no international tournament, I think this summer will go like that. I think it's not going to be long until they're back in pre-season again. This season's not even over yet. We've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks today. Hopefully, we'll be FA Cup holders. Then you've got about 3 or 4 weeks until they're back in training again. It will go really, really quickly. And I look at that Premier League and I go, right, Man City are going to win the league next year. I'll predict that now. I don't know what's happening with Arsenal next year. And they're a better team than us. So I can't even predict Arsenal are in the top 4 yet next year, and they're better than us. Newcastle, I don't think they'll ever leave the top 4, but they've got to spend well. Liverpool and Chelsea will be coming back hard. I've just named 6 clubs, haven't I? So next season's going to be really difficult. And if we don't do anything impactful in the summer transfer window, I'll be predicting what I predicted at the start of the season. It's going to be tough. Yash says, De Jong in, please. And look, there's a few people saying that's a bit melodramatic, but I do worry about it. I think next season, look, you never know. That's the whole fun of predictions. But we're nowhere near the start of next season, but I can already predict that it's going to be really difficult for us because it's just the volume of teams that can improve. Man City, Arsenal will spend money. Arsenal will spend money. I mean, look, Arsenal had £70 million in their pocket for Casido in January. They didn't spend it. So they've got money. Arsenal will spend a couple of $100 million and they'll be better for it. And they're already better than us. Chelsea, I'd say they've got a way better squad than us. They just need a striker and a manager. Liverpool are better than us. They've proved that. They smacked us up at Anfield. They're a better team than us on their day. And they're going to add players in. And Newcastle have got loads of money. So I worry about United. I think we've had a great season. I think Ten Hag's done a great job. But I do worry about us next year. I think there's an inevitable drop-off if we don't have a very, very competitive transfer window. And I think one of the next questions is, what's a competitive transfer window? And I think it's got to be 250 million because when the club failed last season, I said we need between £500 million and £1 billion spending on this team. It needs about 10 players. Well, a decent player these days costs you 80-90 million. So times that by 10, 800 million. So Ten Hag spent 250. He's not even halfway through what it needs to be spent. It's got to be another 250 spent this summer and then probably again next summer. So, that's not... People will go, oh, you're always trying to spend your way out of it. Well, what other way is there? We haven't got a young striker coming through and we haven't got the time to nurture them if we did. We haven't got a young midfielder coming through that can play where Casemiro plays next season. So you've got to go and buy players. And if we don't, I think that we will struggle next year. It's as simple as that. So, as bad as Ollie's management was, it didn't work out for Donny at United, even under Ten Hag. He was one of the top talents in Europe, struggling to adjust, weak mentality, says Ami. And morning, Mark. How you doing, pal? Has United Stan tried reaching out to Arnold or Murta? Would love to see them come on the world's best Man United forum, says Smoggy. They won't do it, mate. They won't do it. They very rarely do it when they've got the questions to answer for like the fans forum and stuff. They won't do it. They've been, those requests have been going in for years, but they won't. A few people saying Mainu. I mean, look, I'd love it to work out, but he's not a DM like Casemiro, like Zero Blade says, and he's hardly played any games this season, so it's very unlikely he's just going to drop him straight into the team, is it? SD says not only top 6 teams, but the likes of Villa and Brighton are also playing well. Yes, great question, SD. And Villa have got about £200 million to spend as well. You make a very good point. A very good point indeed. But look, the people who mention Mainu, you're part of the problem as well, in a way. I'm not being harsh to you, but you're part of the problem because you're fantasists. You are giving the Glazers a way out. Let's use Mainu. Is that what Pep Guardiola does? Does he go, right, Fernandinho's going, I'll just pick someone from my youth setup, which is better than the United setup, by the way? No, he doesn't. He goes and buys a player. I mean, all right, Calvin Phillips has hardly played, but That's not how you compete. You don't throw a young player that's played not even twice in the Premier League for Man United started this season as your solution next year. It's a pants approach to doing it. That's not how you build a football club to win things. You don't do that. You feed them in gradually like we have done with Garnacho with no pressure. You don't throw a young player in as your new midfielder for the season. It's bloody amateur hour. That's not how you run a football club. Unfortunately, it's not. You don't do that. And people are going, well, I'll look at the class of 92. Yeah, I did look at the class of 92. We didn't throw them in straight away. People don't realise that the kids that won that title, they'd been playing for the last 2 or 3 years, some of them gradually getting game time. That's what it takes. You don't just throw a player in straight away. There was something else I wanted to bring in and I completely forgotten what it was. I think it was about the top 4 or something. But yeah, I forget. Pay them all this cash and the hunger to... Yeah, I was just on about Garnacho, actually. I don't know whether many of you watched him when he came on against Bournemouth last night, but look, I don't not acknowledge there's an issue with Jadon Sancho, and it seems to become more of an issue by the week, but he has been given chances by Ten Hag, and I think there was such a big contrast yesterday. When Garnacho came on, he ran at his fullback. It doesn't always work with Garnacho. I think in some ways he's a bit like Giggs. He's not like Giggs in the way that he plays, but he's a bit like Giggs in the way that he'll run at someone and he'll get tackled, but then he'll run at them again and he'll win a corner or he'll get a shot off or he'll put a cross in. He's not fazed by failure. And anybody used to go and watch Giggsy at Old Trafford, there were sometimes the crowd would be getting on his back because he'd try and take someone on 5 times and lose every time. He'd be like, oh, bloody hell, pass it, something like that. The 6th time, he'll get past them and whip across it and will score. And that's what Garnacho's like. He's just not... Because football's not perfection. I think people don't realise this. A goalkeeper can make a mistake. A defender can make a mistake. Casemiro can miss a tackle. Rashford can miss a one-on-one. You do make mistakes. And the big players have the mentality to understand that and just believe in themselves. And Garnacho came on in the second half yesterday, and he's just very direct. And I saw him. He picked the ball up in our own half, and he travelled with the ball all the way up to the edge of the penalty box of Bournemouth. And I can't remember what happened then, but he went past one player and he got all the way down. And I thought, he's not electric fast. He's not Ronaldo. He's not that sort of electric fast. In some ways, he sort of runs on the ball a bit similar to Sancho. But the difference is Sancho gets the ball and passes it. But Garnacho gets the ball and he wants to take his man on. He wants to commit. And I thought, is this just pure confidence here? Because Sancho's capable of skipping past players. He just won't do it anymore. And he's look, Garnacho, if I'm being blunt, Garnacho's better than Sancho at the moment. Garnacho should be starting over Sancho. And that's not nobody's fault other than Sancho's, because he has been given. Ten Hag has given him the starting spot. And he always gets taken off with an average performance, and Garnacho comes on and there's a spark. And that's about development of Garnacho, Ten Hag picking the senior player. But Sancho's got to figure this out. He can't be being subbed off by a youngster who is up and coming and is already better than him. He's got to figure it out, because if he doesn't, I don't know what next season's going to be for him, because his form doesn't dictate a place in the team. You can have Kane, who has no drive. We are getting Rice, Caicedo, Gundogan and maybe Tony, says Zamiasi. I believe it's time we move away from relying solely on edited highlights of players and encourage fans to watch the match themselves to know exactly how they play. Vote is an example, says Glazer's out. What are you saying, is good or bad? And Ricky says, if Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo, Gundogan leave in the summer, do you think that United, Liverpool, Arsenal have a chance next year, or no chance until Pep leaves, says Ricky? Honestly, I don't think you can put Man City's success down to one thing anymore. I think it's just from top to bottom. It's a bit like Brighton, but on a ruthless level. Like, Brighton can lose a player and then another one appears. Like, we've seen it happen. Trossard's gone. Basuma's gone. Ben White's gone. I'm trying to think of all the players that Brighton have sold. And they bring in another player because they've got a great scouting system and they're a well-run club. Manchester City, I think Pep Guardiola leaves and they'll still win the league, because they won the league before Pep. You know, Pellegrini won the league. Mancini won the league. They can win. They've won the league. People think Pep is the reason Man City are successful, and they're right. But people forget that they did win things without Pep Guardiola. So I think that if Pep Guardiola left, they'd still be very competitive. If Gundogan left, which I don't think he is, if Bernardo Silva leaves, they'll have somebody else coming in. Look, the scary thing about Man City, right? This is the scariest thing about Man City. They've got 11 players, which are better than everybody else, and then they've got 4 or 5 players on their bench that would start for everybody else as well. The Phil Fodens, the Mahrez, okay? They've also got no idea, because it's not been leaked, who they're going to buy this summer. Last summer they bought Haaland and a couple of others. The summer before they spent £100 million on Jack Grealish. Who are they signing this summer? Because they're going to sign someone. Who are they going to sign? And you can guarantee it will be an absolute superstar. Like they'll go and buy somebody that everyone goes, oh my God. Because that's what they do every year. They win the league and then they go and add somebody that everybody else wishes they had. And there might be 2 or 3 players they do that with. So I don't see a drop off. And also they're so intimidating because even if they start the season average, you know they can go and win their last 12, 15 games in a row. And that's a juggernaut. It's unstoppable. Kevin, thank you very much for being a member for 27 months. Kim Min Jae, says Chris. There is a report in Italy this morning that the Kim Min Jae deal is basically done. But, you know, I think, was it Nick P said it or somebody said it a few minutes ago? Until somebody's holding up the shirt, nothing's basically done. And I don't know how that deal would be basically done, considering it can't be done until the start of July. Remember, Kim Min Jae has got that 2-week contract window. It can't be done until the start of July, and other clubs are interested, and we don't have an owner. What might have happened is that Kim Min Jae's preference is to come to Man United, and there's been some sort of discussion there. It feels a little bit like that. But we've got Fabrizio on the show tomorrow, so we'll be able to ask him directly. But yeah, I mean, look, the interesting thing is, if Man United sign Kim Min Jae, which I think we should, you've got a very, 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 very talented right-footed centre-back. You've got Varane, who was flawless again yesterday, and to me is world-class. You've got Martinez, who's been incredible. But you've also got Victor Lindelof, who has been remarkable this season. Now, if they're our 4 centre-backs and you sell Maguire, happy days. But I have this fear, and I have this theory, that United do need to sell to buy. And I'm absolutely terrified that we're going to do the Garner thing, where we don't sell the players we need to sell, we sell the players that other clubs want to buy. And Victor Lindelof and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are 2 players that lots of clubs will want to buy, where we can raise 60, 70 million straight away to add to the budget. Now, that's the sort of thing Aston Villa were doing 10 years ago. They sell their starters like Ashley Young and Stuart Downing and destroy their team to buy players because they want to go and they can buy other players. That's not how you run a football club. You don't sell players that are doing well because they've got value, because you can't sell the players that no one wants. Imagine if we keep Maguire and McTominay, but we sell Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka to raise money. That's you're damaging your squad. You're damaging your squad to do that. So that's what worries me a little bit, because Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka have been brilliant since Christmas. You can't sell those players to raise money. That's not what that's like Man City keeping Laporte and keeping Calvin Phillips, but selling Bernardo Silva and Diaz to raise money. You don't do that. We can't be doing that. But we did it last summer with Garner. Garner was sold because he was the player that people wanted. The ones they wanted to sell, the Baileys, the Tellez, the Brandon Williams, no one would sign. So we sold Garner because there was money there to do it. So I hope we're not going to do that, because to me the Wan-Bissaka sale doesn't make any sense. I don't know any United fan that thinks selling Wan-Bissaka is the right thing to do. So I hope we're not going to do that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Spike says, don't give them the idea. It's my idea. It's probably your idea now. It's just the thing. If we need to sell to buy, they've got 2 players there that they can get easy 70 million for by selling them both. And 70 million to the 100 million that we've got is 170 million. So we'll have to wait and see. Look, thanks everyone for watching this morning. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Don't forget, it's merch season. We've got loads of nice stuff out. In fact, we've got this beauty as well. I should have worn that. Look at that. Bit of the old Brazilian colours there. I've got one of these as well. One of my designs. T-shirts. It's the T-shirt season. That's what I was trying to say, as well as the hoodies. Links in the video description. We do ship worldwide. Check it out. We've got some new designs out as well. We do women's sizes as well. I mean, men, if you want to wear one, that's fine. But generally, they are women's sizes. So check them out as well. Take care. United Stand Sunday night show. I love the Sunday night show. We'll do it at 7 o'clock tonight. We'll do United Stand show at 7 o'clock tonight. City fans are really craving authenticity. They want that dig in adversity tag. Your TalkSport show ranter was very amusing, says Nick P. And the Frankie one's still my favourite, says Joshua Bowles. I still have got that one. I've kept it for prosperity reasons, but there you go. Like the back of the net hoodie, says Chris. Yeah, it's on the website. Links in the chat. United Stand Shopify. Okay, I will see you at 7 o'clock. Great show today, says Wilfred. I really enjoyed spending my morning with you. Obviously, if anything breaks, we'll go live this afternoon. But if not, we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock for the Sunday night United Stand show. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Have a great day and take care. Thanks for watching.